What's up, you guys? I'm back in with another video, and I'm sure many of you are very excited as BFA is just around the corner. The launch will be taking place in about 2 days from now. So I did want to finish this video series where I rank different categories of classes, those being range DPS, melee DPS, and now the healer category before the launch of BFA, as I'm sure many of you guys at home are kind of on the seat of which class to pick. So hopefully this video helps you out. Now, just like my last video, I want to take a moment to thank all of my Patreon supporters who really keep this channel running and allow me to make videos for all of you guys at home. Without you guys, this channel wouldn't be possible, so I want to give a quick shout out to all of you. And if you're interested in supporting the channel on Patreon, where you can receive one-on-one coaching and things like that, you can find all the information in the description box below. Now, with that being said, let's hop right into this video. Now, getting into number 1 on the list, I want to do a quick little disclaimer. There is a reason why I saved the healer variant of this video series last, because honestly, guys, all of the healers going into Battle for Azeroth have their own strengths. All of them are going to do well in my mind, and there is not that many healer classes when compared to DPS. So if you pick up a healer, it doesn't matter. There is no order or an exact order to the classes that I'm going to list, and the classes that I do not list, I'll give a quick explanation on why I think they're still going to do well and why you should pick one up when going into Battle for Azeroth. Number 1, I'm going to give it to Resto Druids. For the longest time, I feel like Resto Druids have always had a good spot in the meta. They're one of the few healers that does really well in 2v2s. They do really well in 3v3s. They're good in RBGs. They're always decent in PvE. Resto Druids are, in my opinion, one of the most well-rounded healers. They can heal a wide variety of comps. They have excellent forms of CC, and it really does feel like they didn't lose much when going into Battle for Azeroth. It feels like, if anything, their HOTS are healing for a lot more when compared to Legion. Their heals just feel a lot stronger. They did kind of lose Displacer Beast, but that doesn't really matter. That was their form of getaway, but now, first of all, a lot of people are playing High Mountain Resto Druid, and then you're also seeing people use Wild Charge, which in my opinion is even almost better than Displacer Beast because you get a lot of utility out of it. But they still kept all of their forms of CC. I think they're a very strong class. The only thing that might be different is that they did change Frenzy Regeneration, so they are a little nerfed, and that's why I feel like there is a weakness and strength to every class that I'm going to name on this list. But in my opinion, Resto Druid is just a well-rounded pick. I expect it to do well. Will it perform the best throughout the entire of the expansion? I don't know, but I think going into Battle for Azeroth, it's looking very strong. There's also a lot of Resto Druid content creators on Twitch where you can learn from. You can find him named Poike on EU. He streams quite early for NA, so if you're up in the morning and you want to watch some videos or you want to watch some streams on how to improve, you can check him out. There's also Sidu on NA, which I'm sure many of you guys know who he is, but if you don't, he plays almost every healer in the entire game. He's highly skilled. He's been to BlizzCon multiple times in the past, and he does play Resto Druid from time to time. He's a great person to go in there and ask questions and just get some info about what's, relevant inside of the World of Warcraft arena meta. And there's also my good buddy Clack. He's a Gladiator Resto Druid, and his stream is still growing, so it's a good place to go to ask questions. He almost reads every question. Everything that you ask will be heard, and he's very friendly as well. Number 2, I'm going to give it to Mistweavers, but with the contingent that they might get nerfed in the future. Just like Mistweavers in Legion, they kind of were really overpowered in Season 1, and then they fell off. But right now, their healing output is very high, and we have seen some great changes in terms of Azerite armor and how they affect the class. In the past, one of my complaints about Mistweavers was that they didn't have really anything in terms of defensive mechanics. Like, they didn't have any forms of damage reduction. So if you were about to go in a CC, or you were predicted that you're gonna get polymorphed or anything like that, you would have to try to pre-cocoon your ally or do something or let them know that they need to line. Whereas now in Battle for Azeroth, there's some great Azerite traits that increase your enveloping healing when they take damage. So you can look to like pre-hot your ally before you get CC'd. And in Legion, you could kind of do the same, but it wasn't as effective. Enveloping fell off very fast, and by the time you got out of CC, they were probably still dead. So Mistweaver had some like lackluster issues in Legion, whereas in BFA, it kind of feels the same, but we did get some more utility. Now we can spec into Ring of Peace and Leg Sweep. We have Grapple, Weapon, which is like a new form of a disarm. We deal a lot of damage with our Rising Sun Kick, so we can add extra pressure. Healing output is very strong, and the mobility is almost just the same. The only difference is we can't channel while, cast while moving, but if you play the class for a little bit or a few weeks, you get used to it in no time. And for me, it's one of my favorite healers in World of Warcraft in general. It just feels so good to have such high mobility and perform decently well inside the arena. Mistweavers are always good in 2v2s, they're always good in 3v3s, and they're one of the few healers that does exceptionally well in RBG. So in my mind, they're a great healer for beginners. They're doing very good at the moment, and they're just a lot of fun to play. Now, when it comes to content creators, there isn't that many on Twitch. You can find my boy Whoopi at twitch.tv. he is trying to grow his stream. He's a multi-rank 1 Mistweaver. There is also Draenor, who came back recently, and he does have some experience on Mistweaver. Well, a good amount of experience on Mistweaver. He's a rank 1 healer, and he does stream quite often for EU. And then I also play the Mistweaver, so if you are looking for some tips and tricks, you can find me as well at twitch.tv. Number 3. Now, before I name this pick, please do not get upset if I don't name your healer. Once again, all the healers will perform well. Every dog has its day in the sun. I expect all of the healers to do very well in Battle for Azeroth, but for this list and this specific video, which I will update in the future, I'm going to give it to Disc Priests. Now, everyone knows that Disc Priests are doing a lot of damage on the beta and especially in the pre-patch. Now, that is a strength to the class. However, there was some changes to Disc Priests, and a lot of them were good changes. There was a nerf on Mass Dispel. You can only now Mass Dispel every 45 seconds, so that is kind of a nice change in my mind, as it makes the ability, you know, more of a skill cap use ability. However, you have to be very wary about when using it, and you need to plan it out a bit more. And although the damage is very high, in my opinion, their healing output on beta at 120 is not very high. Now, with Ultimate Radiance and a few different talent choices, of course the class performs well and the healing is good, but they still can get trained down. If you train down a Disc Priest with like a warrior on you, they will flop just like they did in Legion. They're very similar to how they were in Legion. Yes, the shields are absolutely massive. Yes, they're like unbreakable, but they can be purged. And that class does struggle with their healing output. They are exceptionally well, or they perform exceptionally well in setup-based comps. They have, and this is why, in my opinion, they're number 3, well, a couple reasons, but they have one of the strongest comps available to them. They have RMP, Rogue, Mage, Priest. And that comp will always, well, at least in the past, that comp has performed extremely well. And going into Battle for Azeroth, Mages are doing very well. Rogues and Outlaws especially is doing very well. So that really does benefit being a Priest player. If you're a Priest player, you have one of the strongest comps available to you in Battle for Azeroth. They are also very strong in 2v2s, and they're very good in RBGs. However, they only have a few comps available to them, in my opinion. Comps like, you know, Rogue, Hunter, and other setup-based damage comps. But outside of that, they are not like one of the most well-rounded healers when it comes to you being able to heal multiple comps. They don't have the ability to heal other comps like Shamans do or Paladins do. They can't really easily heal a non-setup based double melee comp. And when it comes to double caster, they're not the best at that. There's better healers for that. But they, once again, they have great utility with Purge, Mass Dispel, Fear, Mind Control. So it's hard for me not to give them the number 3 spot. But with that being said, Holy Paladin and Resto Shaman, although they're kind of like middle of the road, that's the best place to be in if you don't want to get nerfed going into the future. If the class is still doing well and the class has a solid toolkit, all it needs is a few tweaks and you'll be at the top of the chain. So in my opinion, picking up a class that you know has a good history, picking up a class that you know all it needs is a few tweaks, is a safe bet because you do not want to get nerfed the first month or the first few weeks of Battle for Azeroth. So if you wanted to play a Resto Shaman or a Paladin or any of the healers I named on this list, in my opinion, they're all great picks. But once again, you guys, that is just my list. This is my list based on my experience. I try and make a list that kind of, you know, is a little bit more broad than what is super OP, but how relevant is it? How viable is it in multiple comps, in RBGs, in different aspects of PvP? Is it noob friendly? Is it fun to play? I try and take all of that into consideration before making this list. But that's gonna do this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. If you have any more questions about my healers, you can leave those in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Try to miss me on my Twitch live stream where I answer all of your guys' questions in depth. Do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.